I want to thank everybody for coming in for our overboard of zoning appeals. Would rise and will further to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Roll call.
I just want to remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded, so if you don't want to say something, that's be repeated later. Mr. Secretary, with roll call.
Mr. McGalloway,
Present.
Mr. Osborne. Present. John Chris is present, and Mr. Korski, our building commissioner.
And I just want to remind anybody here with any variance requests that it had to be a unanimous vote. That's anything, because it has to take 4 and the 5 members and 2 members are gone, so. Some people want to make sure there's 5 different people discussing this, so I just want to give you a heads up. Everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from February 15th. Had a chance to look, any discussion on it? If not, I entertain a moment. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
February meeting.
I'll second the motion.
First and second. No discussion, all in favor, say aye.
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 First petition on the agenda is 2024-B02. Catherine Talbot, 215 Ohio Street, state.
My name is Kathy Talbot. I live at 215 South Ohio Street. I made a little folder for you, for those of you that haven't had a chance to
Thank you.
drive by the house, or it has a survey in there. It has some photos. And I'm not gonna, sorry.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna go over every bit of it, but just if you have questions. I'm gonna make this short. My name is Kathy Talbot. I live at 215 South Ohio Street. I am a year-round resident. I don't have another house that I go back and forth to. I'm here all the time. I would like to stay in my house as long as possible as I age. With that in mind, my intention is to build a garage at the southwest corner of the property. I'm requesting a variance for a 15-foot rear setback and a south side yard setback of 4 feet. The garage is 24 by 22 feet. That size includes a side covered porch, which I do have some schematic drawings in there of what I intend the garage to look like. So it's basically a oversized 1-car garage with a attached side porch. I'm told that the house was built around 1890. My goal for the house is to maintain the integrity and character while making it a place that I can remain as I grow older. In a few years, I would like to attach the garage to the house with an enclosed breezeway, which would allow for safer mobility between the two, especially in winter. It's important to position the garage so that this could be thoughtfully attached in the future. I've provided some photos of the house, the rear yard, the style of the garage to be built. I've also included a scale drawing of the rear yard and a copy of the survey. If I built a garage using the current setback stipulations, the garage would end up basically in the middle of the backyard, which would make the yard largely unusable. A large tree would be compromised and I would not be able to attach the garage in a way that makes sense. Additionally, the garage would end up over a gas line, which I didn't call to have it marked, but it was marked for something else. And I happened to be taking pictures at the time. So you'll see in the photos, the yellow lines where the gas line runs. As you can see in the photos, the neighboring garages are located near and on the property line. I ask that you let common sense prevail and locate the garage in the place that makes the most sense.
I'd ask everyone online to please mute.
thank you for giving this some consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I could go into a lot more detail, but I was trying to keep it brief and to the point. So if you look in the pictures, like photo number 3, I put a stake and a pink flag on it on both the property lines. I mean, on what I think is somewhat approximately the property line. But if you look at the survey, it's a little hard on the north side because the neighbor's fence apparently is right on the line. It's hard to tell where the garage is. There's a little discrepancy there. So anyway, I kind of split the difference and and then I found there's a pin in the front on the stone wall. So I measured back. So the back length of the lot basically is exactly, it seems like at the back of the 2 garages, the 2 neighboring garages, that meets up exactly right. And then I measured over from this garage, the width of the lot pretty carefully. So somewhere in that area. You can see in the first picture in number 2, the garage would be like basically in the center of the garage, in the center of the backyard, leaving me a little strip of backyard on each side of the garage if we used the prevailing setbacks.
So to clarify also on this, since we clarified at the plan commission meeting on Tuesday, we clarified the rear yard setback. So it's actually not, a variance is not required because the ordinance is 10 feet. So the 15-foot rear yard setback isn't needed. So the only setback that Mrs. Talbot's going to be asking for is the 4 feet in the side yard.
Does that mean I could move it back further if I wanted to,
You have
closer to
10
the alley?
to 10 feet.
To 10 feet.
So what you're asking for here really is only going to be the 4 feet side yard setback. I spoke with her neighbor directly to the south, the closest one this is going to be. It's Karen Hine, and she has no objections at all.
I've talked to Karen at length about my plans and my eventual plans to attach.
Karen setback is on.
Karen stuff's right up against the property line.
Well, actually, I think
That's, yeah.
pretty close. It's maybe like,
It's very close to both the north end property line and the west property line, the alley,
which I realized,
which was existing structures.
right, were grandfathered in a long time ago.
On this 4 foot we're talking between and Karen.
Well, I actually think that
Could be a little
Karen's
bit-
lot, this is Karen's garage right here. I actually think that her garage is here. I actually think there's about 2 to 3 feet. But from my calculations, and probably I would have to have the survey company, the survey was done quite a few years ago. Nothing has changed since then, but I would probably have to have them come back out and flag it so we knew exactly where it was. But I don't think her garage is exactly on the line, especially if
Right.
I can find the pin up in the front by the stone wall, and it looks in the survey and the lot that like it runs pretty straight back. It's not like too much at an angle or anything. So I actually really believe that she's got a couple 3 feet,
Okay.
maybe her. But the other thing that I don't know is the overhangs on both of these garages.
Well, that's what I was saying.
So we count the overhang towards the setbacks.
Right. So then she's maybe
Pretty close to line.
a foot or so.
But is that gonna be only 5 feet between her garage and your garage?
Yep. And
5 to, what'd you say, 3 feet up, 1 to 3 feet on hers?
Uh-huh.
Best guess.
so
So-
plus my 4 feet.
Before 7 feet.
Well, that's gonna happen anyway.
The garage is not there yet.
Her garage is gonna be way more likely to catch on fire. Yeah.
If it does, though, you're gonna run into one thing.
You said you ultimately plan on attaching this to your house.
Yes.
and that location is the best suited to attach this to your house?
Yes, because I'm trying to make downstairs, well, first of all, there's some extra space because there used to be a stairway that went from the outside that's not in use any longer. So there's this whole section on the downstairs of unused space that I'd like to, eventually I'd like to make a bedroom. There's the space, the bedroom and the bathroom on the first floor, so I can be there. I have very steep stairs to go upstairs. And it needs to tie in over by the kitchen and the bathroom and the, on that side, otherwise it'd be, it doesn't work for the floor plan of the existing house.
That's just a concrete slab that you got on the back of the house, but
Yes,
there's nothing built on it.
no. It's just a little, like.
Your percentage of impervious surface is, I looked at, it, I don't remember what it was over 50%.
So that's, what is,
It has to be at least 50%.
so that means that I couldn't have one thing I thought about if that was a problem as far as the driveway was concerned, to have like
It would have to be, in this project, it isn't when you go to connect it, it would be something that would have to be looked at first. But you said you have a few years for that?
love to do it now, but I can't right now.
But when the time comes, it's something that'll have to be considered and look at your
What is
impervious
it now
surface.
with the garage?
I looked at it and I don't recall.
So would it
I don't
be
recall the exact
better
one.
to make the garage smaller or not? I really like the covered porch on the side. I want to make the backyard kind of like a little courtyard feeling.
I recall it being compliant with adding that garage as far as impervious surface.
Did you take,
There was enough. I don't know if there was enough when you go to add on.
did you take were you thinking that the driveway was impervious or?
It is part of the impervious.
So if I made,
Driveway, sidewalks,
right,
structures,
even if it's gravel or if it's.
Yes,
that have
even-
the grass that grows through it
even gravel is
considered.
in some landscaping.
So we're saying that once she attaches, not looking at this right now. but we-
Correct. In the future, it would be
Right.
a point of consideration.
It would be over 50%.
I don't know that. I don't know that now. I guess it would depend on the plans.
So other places that are built edge to edge have gotten variances or something, is that true?
It wouldn't pertain to this particular.
No, I'm just interested.
Sorry to say, I mean, I would hate telling that, but we look at each one individually.
I understand.
There's no precedent being set. This is basically
Yeah.
what Barry's saying.
Mhm.
There's no precedent by what's happened before.
I mean, we've got conditions similar to this in other places, and we have to look at every one of them, the neighbor's part, your part.
Mhm.
The shame it's not really a cut and dry way, but
I don't know if it makes a difference, but I plan to remove the shed that's there now.
back on.
Mhm.
That could perhaps address the permeability
Mhm.
Yeah,
when you want to catch them. Well, it's probably not a lot, but
If I may read into the minutes, I just received a text message from Karen Hines, her next door neighbor. Karen states, I should have said something earlier, but we don't have a problem with Kathy Talbot's garage. You find findings of facts or with your
yeah,
paperwork
do you have
also.
anything else?
again, why can't you move this 6 feet north?
Just takes up too much of the yard. I lose 6 feet. I mean, because then I've got like yard over here and also because it's basically like where the breezeway needs to attach to the house, it needs to be not in the middle of the backyard. Or middle of the house.
And your entrance into your house is in the middle of the house with your sidewalk, it looks
But
like.
that's not where,
Correct, but right now,
yes.
so if you were to
That
move, if you were to
sidewalk
move
is
the,
also would be that sidewalk that's there, I don't know whether that's considered impervious or pervious, but
it's impervious
that,
sidewalk.
that will be removed.
Your entrance on the house will remain where it is.
Yes,
And breezeway that you connect would be over that entrance.
not to the right of that entrance. Not exactly sure how it will all,
How far is it from your house now, where you're proposed?
how far is what?
As far as your garage from the house, the back of the house? Where you're gonna put a breezeway or patch
Right.
it somewhere or another?
We put the garage there because I thought I had to set back at least 15 feet.
And I'm talking about between the house and garage.
Well, it would be, it's not there now, but it looks like it's about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 feet. Maybe 19.
If you move this towards the alley 5 feet, you'd gain that 5 feet then.
Right. My
Making
purpose of-
distance between
Yeah,
garage and
definitely
house.
that.
My purpose of having, that space behind the garage is I would like, when I have company, to be able to park a couple of cars back there.
From the alley?
Yes. Parking is actually a problem at the house because the thrift shop is right across the street and you would not believe how much traffic that,
I live on South Lake.
okay, how much that like getting up and down there, so. Like to have a place for people to be able to park cars behind the garage.
Yeah.
I plan to use the garage as a garage, not as a junk collector. I have a lot of stuff and again, a thing as I get older, right now I have a very old basement, part of it has a dirt floor. I'd like to be able to store some of the stuff that I'm going up and down the basement stairs for, which are treacherous, in the garage, so that I don't have to do that all the time.
My only problem is actually this 4-foot setback next to Karen, but I really have a problem with that because she has no problem with it, but at the same time, I feel like there's a problem to put the two that close together on one. And the only reason that you can't move it back would be to the north. There's no reason you couldn't do that other than you want a bigger yard. I mean,
Yeah, that's important to me,
it's
the
important.
yard
I mean,
thing.
the garage is the same size, whether it's moved 3 or 4 feet. You ain't from one side, you lose the other side.
That side of the yard isn't really usable. But,
I guess Kathy, what Barry's trying to get at, what is the hardship here? I mean, why are you coming for a variance? I mean, what do you feel like is,
Stopping you from being.
well, the other thing, like I mentioned, is there's this tree, the closer we get to that, we get into root, we're compromising that tree. And there's also a gas line that runs up my gas line for some reason runs up the middle of that backyard. And so you're getting into that.
The alley.
Yep. For some reason, mine Karen's runs where you see that yellow line close to the garage in the photos, that's hers. Mine runs over and up the center of the. Runs like this, and then it runs like this, it makes an L.
This is a single car garage, right?
Yes, oversized single car.
so with what you're proposing is how close to that NIPSCO line would that come to then? That's running underground?
Well, you can see where it is in the photograph.
Right.
In Karen's, this photo right here. This, like I said, I didn't have this marked, but they've just been marking all over the place. That's further line.
Right.
So this flag,
So
and
you're-
what I
so
think is
if-
the property line, I'm going
Right,
4 feet in from there.
All right, so where's the NIPSCO line that's coming into your property?
Picture 5, picture number 5.
5, okay. Okay, so I'm just trying to reference both
Yeah.
of these.
Looks like you got pretty close to 6 feet, probably. In that line. If they dug out, maybe it's going in the angle, but. Probably. Scott, you have anything else? No. Do you have any comments?
I thought when I looked at the picture what the gas line is, how much room is needed if that needs service.
There was well, I don't know if it's in here. Like that white, somebody else put that little tiny white flag there that says all clear, which is my property, I think.
I don't see what.
Just right here was a little
What
white,
picture number is it?
sorry, picture number 3. There's a little white, there was a little
Oh, right
white
here,
flag
yeah,
there.
I see that.
That said all clear.
I would like to make a comment. I love your attention to detail on how this is presented with the pictures and everything. It's very professionally done, which, you know, we don't see a lot of here, so I appreciate that. Just strictly drawing and it gives us a nice reference to go by, and I just want to comment.
Thank you.
Generally require the impervious percentages, we don't have. Them. Just really looking at everything, I don't think that right now, the way it is, it's gonna be a problem either.
You look on the survey. You know, it doesn't show where this is located on the survey here,
Yeah.
so you can, on we have a rear views of the house.
I think there is a picture online or something of but that we looked at when I was talking to you about this, of the, with the house on the property.
There is on Beacon.
Pardon?
But I'm having problems with the TV, so I can't show it to
It
you.
wouldn't show it, but
No, it would not. It would just show location of the structures on the property.
we want to build right away.
The garage? Yes. I had a builder that wanted to do it 2 years ago and 2 years and nothing. So, yeah,
I mean, I would like a confirmation where the gas line is. If we could leave a little bit 4-foot tillage right there on it.
I mean, the gas line's marked right now. That's where it is. That's what they're gonna come out and mark is the same thing that they marked.
Right. They didn't mark, did they mark it all the way up to the house?
No,
They just marked it so many feet in.
right now it goes, it's been marked before, and it might be a problem later on, but my gas meter is right next to this fire sort of right here on this side, if you look at picture 3, on the side of the house right here is where my gas meter is.
Oh,
And it runs, the gas meter then runs almost to the sidewalk that's there now. And then it runs straight out. Actually, yeah,
so you're talking it comes up this way and then goes over?
goes this way and then out. It goes this way and then out.
Okay, so coming
Mhm.
and goes back to the house.
The gas meter is over here on this side of the house, and for some reason, instead of running it over here and tying it into here, it runs over along the back of the house and then out.
So it's
Mhm.
part of it.
So the garage doesn't bother the gas line at all right now. Might have to address the situation at another time, but right now I'm just trying to get the garage in case I can do the second part of the project later.
So we would have the same problem there as far as if service needed to be done on Karen's gas line, but the garage would be too close.
Well, the other thing is my garage, the way that it's drawn, because of the 15 feet, I mean, her garage is here, so they're off center. They don't line up, right? Mine isn't all gonna be all the way at the back of the property line. It's gonna be set in 10 to 15 feet. So they're not the 10 to 15 feet, her is wide open.
Right.
So there's only like, what, 10 feet of overlap.
But on the south side.
You don't know where it runs after it gets past her garage, how it runs
Right.
to connect to the house is where you're coming.
Hers or
Or, yes,
they just worked on it last week, which is why it's there. It runs underneath her driveway.
How do you plan to attach this breezeway to the garage as it's presently?
If you
So
look
we're not-
at this elevation right here, it would attach, there would probably be a door somewhere in here. I don't have that. I don't have a drawing of that yet. I don't have those plans because I just wanted to get the garage situated. But my vision is a breezeway that would be like a mudroom, laundry room with sliding a door that goes out into the yard.
Again, where
See this side of the garage right here?
yeah, so where would you be putting the door?
I don't know.
Okay. Then I guess the question I have is why do you have to have a covered porch?
I don't have to have a covered porch. I just like the covered porch.
Well,
I want to make my yard like a little oasis. I don't know if you've seen what's across my alley, but
Oh, yeah.
it's a mess, and I would like to do some landscaping and some fence sections in order to create a little, not a fenced-in yard by any means, but just some privacy and a place I enjoy the outdoors.
But this section here to the north is where your little,
Yes. It would, if you were sitting on that porch looking out, you would be facing north.
I just have a problem with that covered porch. And what you're proposing about breezeway door, the door off the garage connecting to the house, or the breezeway as it would connect to the house, I just have a problem with that.
Well, I'm not doing that. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted the porch right now is because I wanted to put a door, like I want to be able to dart from the house to the garage to get to it. So that I can,
Well, and as I look at this concrete slab here and your door
Yeah, you're sick.
I don't see how you're gonna be able to line it up.
It's not, the door where it's gonna attach the breezeway is somewhere on this section of this back, this,
We're on the house.
oh, on the house, it would be somewhere. I don't have the plans,
I mean, your doors.
it would be, there used to be a, right here where these garbage cans are,
Right.
there used to be a door that goes down, that went down to the basement from the outside. Somebody, sided over it. The stairs in the basement are still there. And above it is 2 stories worth of space. So I would like to take advantage of that space on the first floor to perhaps go in there.
Oh, shoot. Think about putting the door here. This is,
Yeah, it could be, that's a possible place for it here, or, wait, no, I'm not in the right place.
you gotta go here.
Right, this is the alley. This is the, yeah, is this what you were pointing to right here?
Yes.
Yeah, somewhere in there. This is a bathroom right now. All of this space basically back here needs to be reorganized because I want to be able to make a bedroom and a bathroom on the first floor so that I don't have to go up and down the treacherous upstairs. So I'm not exactly sure, but somewhere in this section.
Why moving this
That even
makes more
makes it-
sense to move it forward.
Like, well, if your door's gonna be here from the garage.
It could also be an, I mean, I don't have that part designed.
Right. But from what I'm saying, there's no reason you couldn't move this forward if you knew where that gas line was from.
I mean, yeah, you could place it there. I don't think it's gonna look good. It's gonna look like it's the middle of the backyard.
Well, I don't like it that close to the property line. That's the reason we have setbacks.
I'm trying to improve my property and make it so that I can stay there. I'm a year-round resident and I want to live there as long as I can. And my goal is to make the house as easily accessible so that I can stay there and keep, that's, and be able to enjoy it.
Right. But I don't see why the enjoyment changes if you move it, get a little bit more setback off that from that 4 foot.
I mean, what are you talking about? Do you think 5 feet is gonna make a difference?
It would, not 5, but when you start getting up to 6 to 8, it definitely would.
So I've lost 4 feet.
No, you still own it. Yeah, I'm pretty adamant about these setbacks, but I mean, they've been abused for over years, and I know, I'm not saying that you're abusing it. I'm just saying it's been encroached on many times.
I know that I'm not supposed to care about the people that are on both sides of me. They're both, one's on the line and one's very close. So I suffer, that garage had been probably, in fact, I think my husband, when he was alive, found a thing, there was like a stable or something back there, some kind of outbuilding back there on the line years ago.
Yeah.
There was a old map. I wish I could find it again.
I mean, it's a garage and it's an accessory building, accessory structure. And when anybody comes in that want to build something
I
on their
understand.
property, they're required to obey the ordinances. And if they can't for some reason, that creates a hardship. I mean, I put the low spot with water down there, and you couldn't put the shed there. That's just an example, but from what I'm seeing, the gas line would be the only thing standing in the.
In the tree. As you get into that and it gets bigger.
I've got my accessory structure, it's only like 8 feet from my tree. It's huge, the tree.
Does NIPSCO, do they come in and move their lines for any reason? I mean, is that a possibility?
Um, it's an expense, but yes, they would. You have to pay for it. Right.
Happy to do that.
Hmm.
I'm happy to do that if necessary. I guess we need them to say whether that it was.
Well, I think at this point, that's an option, because obviously there's a couple members that have an issue with this. And I think that if NIPSCO can move the lines, we could move it over. That would be accommodating, very accommodating to this board.
Yeah.
Would you agree
Where would you want it moved?
that,
And that where they'd have access to it. I mean, evidently that would be the problem, what you're saying now. You put it over the gas line or being able to service the line or whatever. Definitely don't want to build over it, but
And the fact that you in the future want to put a breezeway in,
right?
and that will compromise the gas line.
yeah,
Seems rather prudent that you take steps now to,
Would you be okay if NIPSCO would run the gas line out parallel to Karen Himes?
That's
more-
something that's not.
Makes more
that's-
sense to
that's
me for
not
it to go
something we
straight
can really
out.
comment on.
right,
I mean, that's something you got to talk to NIPSCO, is, we don't know the possibilities, we don't know what they can do,
right.
and, you know,
But I mean, we're not here to see if Karen can move her gas line.
No,
Right, yeah.
I said if mine was on my property but ran parallel to her. I don't know why mine goes the way
well,
it does.
in that respect, then you're gonna have problems in that if you're only gonna have a 4-foot setback on the side,
Hmm.
How are they gonna put the gas line in?
I have to move it over, because if you do, it's eliminated on the other side, you can move it over.
Yeah.
You say,
Actually, with the way it is right now, it goes out and crosses over here and goes back over this side of the house.
But if they're gonna put it in here, how far off the property line does it have to be? We don't know.
we don't know that.
First,
It might be easier to move it to the other side of the house if they would do that.
I have a question on the attached porch.
Mhm.
How wide is that?
I think it's about 6 feet.
Again, I still have problems with that covered porch. And the door that you're gonna put in the garage that would eventually be covered over by the breezeway.
No, the door to, there's gonna be an additional door that goes out to the side porch.
she's done. Off the side porch where you come past the plug on the outrun garage. This is your porch, correct?
There would be a door right, actually, it'd be like right here. That goes into the garage
Asked earlier, you said something about here.
when it attaches to the house. Would always be outside. This will always be open. This porch, would always be open.
Right,
The only-
you're talking about door right in here. Or whatever.
There'll be a door that goes out to the porch right there.
From the garage before.
And then when it attaches to the house, there would be, and this would just go out to the porch, but there would be another door that would go into the house.
But you said it would be somewhere in here, but if you move that forward and still come out of the garage. Whatever.
I guess I don't
Your
know.
doors-
I don't understand if there's gonna be a door here now. But then when you add a breezeway, you're gonna put a door here.
Right. This would go outside and this would go into the house.
But you got a door here and maybe a door here.
This would go into like a hallway.
I have a lot of problems with the logistics of how that's gonna happen.
I'm not finding the real hardship here. I mean, if the gas line was far enough over here where you can move it. I mean, it looks like you can move it over 6 feet the way this looks. But you're saying the tree, and I don't see, I mean,
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I don't understand why the tree would be a problem. Honestly, it
So
was,
it's gonna get bigger.
I'm big, but. I mean, is it because of the view or down on the side? I don't know.
It already is pretty big.
I'm supposed-
Tree.
I'm just saying that, I just say, make findings of fact.
Yeah, you can go finding facts, look at that. And you can probably what you want to do.
You do what?
We go through the finding of facts and you'll see what members feel. But,
Am I at a disadvantage because there's 2 missing people?
maybe. I won't say yes or no because
We
I'm
don't
not
know.
here to speak, but if you feel that way, then you're asking.
My option would be to return.
Pardon?
I could return.
You can. You can ask to have it tabled.
You can have to have a table. Comes back. And that's even after finding facts, you can have a table or you move forward. If you move forward, then it'll be a year before you.
Yeah.
It's like. I'm not for that. Pardon?
I don't want to wait a year.
No. Did you find your finding?
I was pretty sure I put them on those files. You got them?
In finding facts is three things that we look at. And if anybody disagrees, any one person at all disagrees, we only have 3. But disagree, it's nominate no vote. Yeah. To start out, the first one, general welfare. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. So,
Great.
Mr. Chris,
Disagree.
I agree. Adjacent property, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Mr.
Great.
Chris,
Agree.
I agree. Practical difficulty, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Situation shall not be self-imposed, nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction on economic gain. Ms. Roberts,
Disagree.
Mr. Chris,
Disagree.
and Chair disagree. So at this time, all 3 people have voted no.
Okay. A table it.
You table it. Okay, motion to table.
Table to what date?
Oh, yeah, we need a date for that.
Sorry, next month's meeting?
What am I have to get the information from, what do I have to do to come back? Or what information do you want?
Information with the gas line,
Yeah.
where it's at now,
Mhm.
and as far as proposed moving it, if you want to see with NIPCO, what it'd be as far as moving the gas line. And I think that's it. But also the pervious, impervious, we'll need that information.
And
If
you
we-
can get that for me, Steve? Or that.
I can work with you on that.
And if I do it next weekend, next meeting, and for some reason NIPSCO, I can't get it all together, then can it be delayed?
I would wait till you get their information before you come back.
Oh, okay, so I don't have to give
come
you a date.
back to do it. I mean, right now you get the information and you call Steve, let him know one way or the other.
To table meeting, we have to have a specific
But we have to have a
date
specific
that you'll be
date.
back.
But if you don't,
So if it would be, the next meeting is April 18th. And then we have a meeting in May after that.
Well, I'd like to put it for April 18th. Unless I don't have
Right, yeah.
the information that I need.
Then you could go to May, correct, Steve?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, so you're good
Okay.
as far as that goes.
Yeah, you show up on the 18th and ask, say, if you don't have the information, you could state that and ask to have it tabled till May.
Okay.
Motion to table.
I motion we table this till next
April 18th.
April 18th.
April 18th.
I'll second.
Got a second? Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Now,
Thank you.
Give it.
Keep on this thing next. Speak what piece.
You can have those. I've got one that I'll put in the minutes. So you can take those home to your BZA file collection.
Yeah. Next case. Yeah. Case number 1.3-B31, 220 footage. Was tabled from January 18th to February 15th meetings twice.
Okay.
And first, we want to present this.
Good evening, members. Have a think here how this should have been presented to begin.
Thank you.
So, this is a recollection, when last we were here, we had looked at trying to move some of the structures north or south on each of the two lots to try and make everything kind of balance out. As we started to move things around and decide how to redesign or restructure so the intended uses, we came up with this plan here that I think is probably the best way that this should have been presented to begin with, as a maximum buildable space. So as you're aware, you can build a house with eaves on all four sides or on two sides and those types of things. So the way this is designed out is, if the final design has eaves, those would not be, on the north lot, would not be past that total width. I think it's 28 feet. 27.3. So that would mean the eaves would be at 27.3, the foundation would be at 25.3. So you have your 1 foot eaves. If the design is, it has no eaves on the sides of the house, then the foundation will be 27.3. That would give you a setback on that northern lot of 10 feet from the north line, 20 feet from the rear, and 10 feet from the front, all compliant, and a 7.5 foot setback on the south. So we're asking only for a variance on the south setback of 2.5 feet, and then a variance from the requirement to build within the map or the original footprint of the building that is existing. This plan would at all times provide a minimum of 17.5 feet between the two residences, whether there was eaves or not. So the minimum setback there would be, or minimum separation that would be, is 17.5 feet.
So just to clarify I'm talking about the north lot, the setback on the south side, it says 7.5 feet.
Correct.
So
it'd be a
2.5,
2.5
variance
feet.
of 2.5 feet. I see.
The north lot only. And under this design, right, under this design, we would withdraw the request for a variance on the south lot because there's no need for a variance in any way.
Yeah, 25 feet. Done.
Correct.
And the 10-foot setback on the front, which I think we talked about that before. Everything else is on the street online. We wouldn't have been.
It's- Yeah, it's kind of in the same construction
Same
line with the
I
rest.
think our building commissioner already looked at that.
Correct, yeah.
He said-
The only question that we do have is that front walk, and we'll work with Steve on that, is if it requires a setback request from that, and if it doesn't, we'll get into that. But we believe that if it's a walkway, like a sidewalk that follows the line of the the ground, if it follows the topography, then it's not necessarily stairs that require a setback. If it's a structure that's built on top of the ground, then that is stairs and requires a setback variance. It's our intent that would follow the topography of the land, be more of a sidewalk than this steps.
And that's accounted for in the impervious.
Yes, yeah. So we've kind of moved all, things around, moving them up north, south, never really front or back. But it seems like the maximum structure width of 27.3 gives that 7.5 feet on the side at a minimum. Kind of, I thought, met with kind of the desire of the board to have that distance from the property line. That would allow for maintenance, allows for the setback, fits with the tenor of the other development in the neighborhood. And is not drastically shorter to meet some requirement.
Only looking at the north lot now. Which pervious is 51%.
Right, yeah.
And not look at the lot, south lot, but you're coming up, I mean, you put it in the drawings here that both lots would be more, but we don't look at both lots at the same time, so the south lot would be 52% pervious. Right?
So, correct, yes,
Then you've got the total.
so both meet that 50%
Right,
requirement.
I just didn't know your numbers, 51%, 52, 51.
Yeah,
But we're not looking at that. I just want to make sure that if we approve one, if we want to go ahead with that second one, everybody going to go with the first one.
yeah. As I understand it, the engineer has drawn this and we'd have to comply with that requirement of these measurements.
Right.
As we go to apply for the building permit, we'll double check that number. I'm sure that Steve will.
Yeah.
So under this design, we would require no variances whatsoever on the south lot. So we're only looking at the north lot and it has, according to the design, a 51% pervious area.
Well, on the south lot, you're gonna require a variance for the impervious though,
Right.
because you're 49%.
What we have. Well, then that number's, no, it's impervious is 49%. We have to have at least 50% pervious.
It's 52. So,
So impervious minimum's 50%.
Right. So we meet impervious.
No, you need 50%. You're less than,
You're 49% on the lower north and 48%.
because you got,
Impervious is correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure impervious is the water won't go through, right?
Right,
Yes.
So that can't be higher than 50%.
so, then
Impervious,
yeah, it can't, it's supposed to
Can
be
be.
50-50,
I think,
so.
well, it can be more. You can have more green space.
Right, yeah.
That's what we have is
I'm
more
saying
green space.
The minimum impervious is 50%.
So the maximum impervious
Yeah.
is 50%. We have less than 50%. We're 1% in the good.
right,
Right,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. So if we had 68,
Pervious.
if we had 68%,
Pervious, 52% pervious, so that means
52% grass.
52% grass.
Yeah.
The impervious is 48.
right.
So let's kind of back up a little bit, because, you know, we've looked at this for
A couple times, yeah,
couple, 2, 3 times.
yeah,
So from where we started
yeah.
and where we are today, what are the changes? I mean, you know, when you talk about, okay, so what's the difference between where we started and where we're at today and what you're doing, what you want?
Yeah,
That's.
I think the main difference is the widths of the structures based upon the design. One, on the total width of the structure, two, on if it has eaves or not. The original design had, as you remember, a 2.5 foot setback request on the north lot because of, I think it was a 32 foot wide house with 1 foot eaves on the 44.8. So that asked for a setback of 7.5 feet as opposed to 2.5 feet now. So the development, the house has been made smaller. There's a structural design that we could go with or without the eaves. And so that's changed. We looked at also the setback, original design on the south lot had a request for a variance, I think of 2 feet. So it was 8 feet off for the original and 2.5 feet. So you had 10.5 feet. Was the original setback, and now we're at 17.5 feet.
Okay.
So by changing the structural widths, and somewhat of the design with the eaves.
Is what, how you work it.
Yeah, and if you're standing on the ground, no one looks at it and says, well, how far apart are those eaves? That only matters the exact.
You're looking at the wall.
Right. So looking at the wall, if there are eaves, if the design that Alan and Chris come up with has eaves, this would actually, on both houses, it would actually end up being 19.5 feet between the walls and the foundation.
Right.
If they were to choose to do that. If they choose not to, then the minimum they would be separated is 17.5.
Okay.
So what, just for my clarification, the only thing you're asking for tonight is since the south lot meets
Standard. We would withdraw.
meets
those.
our ordinance, so it's just the north lot on the south side that you're asking for the 7.5 foot setback.
And the footprint of the existing structure that's there. So we're gonna build outside that original footprint, which is that small building. This is, you know, the proposed structure was longer and
So in this plan though, once the footprint of the existing structure is a moot point
because it's gonna be torn down.
because it's gonna be torn down. All we're gonna do before that gets, assuming that it gets torn down at any point, that I have to be out there to make sure that we set grade prior to it being demoed.
Yeah, and it's our intent, as our understanding of the cross section of the existing structure or of the cross section that meets inside the elevation of the existing structure, pre-existing structure.
We have a couple different ways that
Yeah.
I'll work with contractor owner. I'll work with those people. I have a couple of, there's options. So we'll agree on the options mutually.
The design is nowhere near, you know, well, I guess depends on if you're familiar with the construction. I mean, I think that design is somewhere in that 30-foot range. And, you know, so adjustable depending upon pitch and those types of things. So I don't think we'll be overly concerned about the overall height.
So with the grade and everything, they're probably gonna look very similar in height, even because of, you're talking about
From the ground.
2.5, it's gonna look similar.
From the ground, you would be hard pressed to tell the difference. It may be a foot different. Like,
Right.
because it just,
Because you're going down.
it's going down.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's only slightly. I mean, Marty's house is a little bit lower than the house before it because the trail was downhill already.
I mean, are they 2-story?
They're 2-story technically because the 2 stories comes from the back side. And the front side, as it slopes towards Coolidge, you'll have exposed basement area, but then that'll be covered up with the topography of the land will be such that it'll be graded so that it kind of comes down towards the middle to common sidewalk that's 6 feet wide. So you have 3 feet on either side. So it'll kind of slope towards the middle of topography, but then what you see is basement, and then on a second story, or what it'll look like, it'll be technically be the ground floor of the front door. Kind of like you have at the Marmont house where it's an elevated front door based upon sloping backwards. There's just, it slopes to the back as opposed to the front.
these are non-conforming lots, correct?
Correct.
Conforming structure.
The north lot is non-conforming. The south lot is.
Well, they're still not conforming lots under 7,500 square feet, but they're still buildable. A 50-foot width is what's required, so the north lot is they're both non-conforming for building new structures when we look at the variances. And our ordinance says the full-size lot now 7,500 square feet. But you can still build on a 50-foot wide lot within those setbacks also. And so this one's a little special with 44.8 foot, but it's still,
Yeah, per square
it's a
footage.
smaller lot, something to consider.
Yeah, I would just learn too, I mean. I know you were talking about the size, Marion, but under this conditions, ordinances call for a 10-foot setback on these lots. On the rear yard.
No, they're 25 foot.
25.
They're 25 foot. They're the main structure. So the rear yard's 25-foot setback.
I knew that ordinance down for the 10-foot for R1.
That was only for accessory structures.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Hey, I'm talking about prior.
Oh, on, I guess I see what you're saying. Yeah, there is 10 foot.
I mean, in other words, you could either build it bigger
I need,
or move it back. But
I just confused myself. I could go look
Yeah.
or check. But having the 25 foot in the rear
well, because it's an alley,
offers,
the alley though.
yeah, it offers some,
Right.
the only place you're gonna have parking.
Is
not gonna be able to-
surprised if there was a desire to move it any further back, because there is a desire to be able to allow. For one, the people who live back there now kind of use that as a parking lot, and they kind of talk to Alan and say, hey, if we need to, can we use that spot? And he's kind of been okay with that, so.
Well, I mean, I
I think
think
it would be-
because I know as far as the front setback, you want it in line, you wouldn't want to back it up anyway from the front, correct? I mean, under your,
Where it's at now would be in line and consistent. With this 10 foot on front, that's consistent.
Now, while we still have to look at these as individual
Right.
lots.
Yeah,
My concern is it mentions something about drawing up an agreement
well, it would be
between the two that is in terms of accessibility and
yeah, and
easements.
we have that drafted. It's not really an agreement. I mean, it's gonna be a recorded easement that says this is, you cannot, you can use this for the purposes of maintaining both sides of the house. So it would run with the land. So if the one was sold or the other was sold, it wouldn't matter if there was an agreement. It's now a requirement of the land.
Yeah.
So, we can do that if that's something that makes the board feel, we have that drafted. A common maintenance, easement that allows both to access the side. At 17.5 feet, I kind of feel like that's a lot more, usable than, that may not, I mean, to record the documents, $25, it's not that big a deal to do it, but,
Yeah,
like 2.5 feet, you needed it. Now with 7.5 feet at a minimum, that's more doable.
everything else, we're going to finding
Finding facts, yep. But
So it's only gonna be for the finding of facts, only gonna be applicable to B
B21.
21.
okay, so
And we're only looking at the.
here at B22.
We're only looking at the 7.5 foot setback. But 25 but everything else.
I would ask you, because this has changed some on the top, it's kind of open for that. If you would on the top right, if that it's for 7.5 foot setback on the south side.
Yeah.
And then you'll need to date the bottoms of those also.
Okay, general welfare. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Mr. Alvin,
agree.
Mr. Chris,
Agree.
and Chair. Jason property, The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Mr. Osborne.
Agree.
Mr. Chris.
Agree.
And the chair agrees. Practical difficulty. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Situations shall not be self-imposed, nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction on economic gain. Mr. Osborne.
Agree.
Okay.
Agree.
And the chair agrees. Nine members that just because you did agree does not mean you have to vote yes. But if you did disagree, you have to vote no. But, that's all I'm saying. I mean.
So you need
It
a,
doesn't, really make sense to me,
yeah,
but.
so you need a motion. So you need a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the variances requested on variance B 21-02203 B 21. 7.5 yard setback on the south side,
What setback?
but yeah.
7.5.
Yard's not gonna work. Okay. Sorry. I was trying to help you out, Bert. Okay, come on.
Well, that'd make it worse.
Yeah. Then you would have to get a variance. on the south side, wouldn't you?
All right, I've got a motion,
I'll second the motion.
first and second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Same sign.
Wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen. That's it. It is. No.
That needs
What's wrong? Yes, the design. Thank you all.
You have 7.5 foot setback in your.
Well, we don't have another case here, was. Steve?
We do, but
Well, I think we have to
we got to,
technically say that
we don't have lot two.
U22,
Is he not bringing the south lot for us? We didn't agree with
Well, that-
that.
No, there's no variance there.
Oh, they
Everything,
need one, that's right, okay.
everything's
My
signed.
question is,
So I'll
what
take your, you got that?
about this fourth case? This, they're obviously not here.
So,
I can, I'll say, because they called in, they had it tabled from before, and they haven't got all the things that they needed.
okay, if I may, Mr. President, I'll make it easy.
Okay.
Case number 2024-B01-1394 East Shore Drive, Culver, Indiana. The applicant has requested this be tabled until April 18th, 2024, which is our next meeting. They haven't been able to gather all the information they wanted. If you recall, this was the case
So I
that,
entertain a motion to table this till April 18th.
Make a motion, we table to April 18th.
Yeah, I need a second on it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
that's the minutes. I'll send you. Thank you.
This thing? Funny thing, for the other.
No, you can keep that.
I tore mine off.
Any new business? Instead of having comment.
We have just one person online, so
That's what I'm gonna-
we had a few people online
Yeah.
at one point.
I didn't know, we could have asked them that properly. Where are they on?
I guess I'll be able to identify them somehow.
Yeah, as their names are on there. One's a phone number. Mr. President, if you'd like, I can give my report.
Yes.
My report, I just had in front of me, is very short. For February, building permits applied for were 6. We've been slow.
Sorry.
6 building permits in February. So fees for building permits and improvement location applications. In February, Culver received $2,095. There's no update on zoning ordinances, nothing to report on unsafe structures. The solar battery ordinance team met on the 19th for an hour. Just a lot of discussion there. Be meeting monthly moving forward. TRC had one meeting in February. That was for a pergola at the Mexican restaurant. Yep. Plan Commission had one item on the agenda. It was a replat in February. BZA had 3 cases in February, and all 3 cases were tabled.
Did you say?
The replat, property owner is, last name is Peacock. That was heard by the Plan Commission.
So they were working on it. Last one. So they would look like a work thing this morning.
That's all I have. Are we ready to adjourn?
I second.
On favor, anything opposed?
Thanks.
Carried.